Adadanastryanandai Vidam Yache Puna Puna Srimad Rupa Padambujo Dulisyam Janma Janmani Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Manjakalpatrubhyascha kripa sindhu vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Sripad Kirtan Chandra Namanandi Aindra Prabhu ki. So today is a very sad day for all of us. We're all gathered here on the disappearance tithi of our extremely dear godbrother Aindra Prabhu. It is the month of Asad when Rath Yatra takes place. That's on the Dvitiya. Today is the Sasti, 6th day of the bright half of the month of Asar. And we're sitting in that holy place of Sri Vrindavan Dham, where even today the pastimes of Radha and Krishna are going on, for those who have the eyes to see. And in that Vrindavan Dham, we're in a very wonderful place called Ramanreti. Raman means enjoyable. Reti means sand. Very relishable sand is here for Krishna and Balaram to play. In that corner of Vrindavan called Ramanreti, Srila Prabhupada established a glorious temple of Sri Sri Krishna Balaram, Radha Shyam Sundar and Gaura-Nitai. So just beside that temple in the Balaram hall, we're sitting here to honor our extremely dear godbrother Aindra Prabhu, who left us on this tithi. I don't know, how many years has it been? 6 years is it? My goodness. Seems like it was just yesterday. I never saw anybody like Aindra Prabhu who was completely addicted to the holy name. Whenever I think of Aindra, one verse comes to my mind. There's one time Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was staying at Puri, he went to visit Srila Rupa Goswami. He was staying at Siddhabakul, the same place where Haridas Thakur, who's the Namacharya, Aindra Prabhu's our Kirtanacharya, Haridas Thakur's our Namacharya. Because Rupa Goswami, although he was the highest of the Brahmins, because of his having been in the service of the Nawab Hussain Shah, he was rejected from Brahmin society, Hindu society altogether. So he didn't enter the temple of Lord Jagannath, so we shouldn't feel bad that some of us are not allowed to enter that temple. We're in good company. We have Haridas Thakur, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, so many wonderful devotees who also never enter, so we shouldn't feel bad. So Mahaprabhu came there along with Ramananda Roy, who's expert in relishing ras, because he had heard that Rupa Goswami was writing a book, not a book, a play, actually 2 plays, Vidagdha Madhav and Lalita Madhav. So he brought Ramananda Roy along because Ramananda Roy knows how to relish ras. So Mahaprabhu came there and he asked Rupa Goswami, please sing that nice verse that's in your Mangala Charan, hearing which all the world becomes filled with joy. And Rupa Goswami put his head down. He was embarrassed by the praise of Sriman Mahaprabhu. He said, no, sing that verse. All the devotees feel joy when hearing that verse. Then Rupa Goswami sang this very beautiful verse. Tunde thavani ratim vitanute tundavadi labdaye karna kroda kadambani gatayate karnarbudeva spriham cheta prangani sangani vijayate sarvindriyanam kriti no jane janita kiyagri amritai krishnete varna dvai. Tunde means tongue. Tunde Tandavani. We know Lord Shiva's dance is Tandav. So Tandavani. When that name dances on my tongue, then I want Tundavali. I want to have so many. Tunda means one tongue. He says Tundavali. I want so many tongues. Just to taste that nectar. When that name dances on my tongue, then I desire to have so many tongues. And then karna means the ear. Karna kroda kadambati gatayate karnarbudeva spriham. He wants, when that sound of that holy name enters the ear, then Arab. Sometimes it's translated as million, but Arab in Sanskrit means billions. He says, I want to have billions of ears to relish that nectar. And then when that name, Cheta Prangani, Cheta Sangani, when the name dances within the courtyard of my heart, then all the senses become inert. Sarvindriyanam kritim. We're all completely bewildered by our senses, but when you let that name actually enter your heart and dance there, then you'll become completely oblivious to the sense objects of this world. He says, I do not know how much nectar, varna dvai, in these two syllables, Krishna varna dvai, I do not know how much nectar is there. So that verse to me personifies Aindra Prabhu. He was constantly absorbed in relishing that nectar. When you saw his face, you could understand he wanted to have those many tongues to chant. He wanted to have those billions of ears to collect that nectar in the ear. You could see the name was dancing within his heart. He's completely renounced. So Aindra Prabhu, he personified this verse of Srila Rupa Goswami. And he inspired the whole world. Now everywhere we go, there's kirtan melas, 24-hour kirtans. There was a 40th anniversary, somebody had 40-hour kirtan like this. Somewhere in one of the Carolinas, there's a 3 or 4 day kirtan festival. All over the world, these kirtan things, they're all inspired by Aindra Prabhu. I've never figured out why they don't name them, the Aindra 24-hour kirtan. Should name them in honor of Aindra. He inspired them. Because gradually in our society, Harinam, that was Aindra's point. Just like we saw in the film. When I joined, when Aindra and I and all the older that's all we did was kirtan all day long. Now we're seeing the state of the world. Every day we're seeing how horrible it's become, especially in America. Every day somebody just shooting people for no reason whatsoever. So much war and strife going on. Huh? Because there's no more Harinam going on like that. This is the yajna for the age. Harinam Sankirtan. So gradually, Harinam became a little pushed to the side. So this Kirtan movement of doing Kirtan melas and 24-hour Kirtans, this is a move in the right direction. To again bring us back to relishing that holy name. But we have to take it back to the streets. We have to take Kirtan back to the streets. So Aindra's very close associate, Rama Roy Prabhu's got the Kirtan ashram there in New York City, the most important city in the world. Of course, we know our Vrindavan Dham is the most important, but by material calculation, New York City is the most important. So there, every day, Kirtan is going on. And this is what we have to bring it up to. Just doing Kirtan in private, that's enlivening all the devotees to remember that Harinam is our life. But now we have to take that life of all transcendental knowledge back to the streets to give everyone that nectar of the holy name. We see the whole world is just going to hell. And we're crying, but what are we doing about it? We have to take Kirtan back to the streets. That was really Aindra's deep desire, to see Kirtan go back to the streets and everyone chant the holy name. This is the prime benediction for humanity at large. So we're hiding in some big hall and chanting, but it's for all humanity. This Kirtan is the prime benediction for humanity at large. We have to take it back to humanity at large and chant in the streets and bring this Sankirtan movement back in the foreground of our lives. So that was one of the, of course, Rindra had many missions. That was one of his missions. That's very dear to my heart because I spent so many years chanting on the streets, always ready for any time there's Harinam procession. I'm always ready to take part. So anyway, on this wonderful day, I just want to remember Aindra Prabhu as that person who wanted to have millions of tongues and billions of ears and have the holy name chant within his heart. Sripad Kirtan Chandra Namanandi Aindra Prabhu Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Om Gyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I have been thinking of this day for a long time. Remembering Aindra Prabhu. And I just hope and pray that I can say something that will be pleasing to him. In my work, I came across this verse by Srila Sanatana Goswami. I'm sure you know it. Jayati Jayati Namananda Rupam Murare Virahitam Nija Dharma Dhyana Pujadi Yatnam. This is the verse of Srila Sanatana Goswami is glorifying Sri Nam. And in this verse, in Srila, you know that Srila Sanatana Goswami, he wrote the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. This is one of the verses of the Mangalacharna. It's verse 9 of the Mangalacharna. And Srila Sanatana Goswami wrote Brihad Bhagavatamrita, and then he also wrote the commentary to his own book. And so in the commentary, he's writing about this word. The second line is Viramita Nija Dharma Dhyana Pujadi Yatnam. And so he's writing about this. And he's saying how this word, Viramita, illustrates the superiority of the holy name. Now, Viramita means made to cease. So what is it that Viramita is causing to cease? It's these different types of suffering And so he says, simply by taking shelter of Ananda Sarup Shri Nam, that means the names of the Lord that are the very form or the very essence of joy. So these names of the Lord that are so joyful, they make these sufferings, these different sufferings cease. They make them go away. What are they? And it's a very interesting categories. The anxiety of being able to properly adhere to codes of conduct. And this is by those who would follow Varnashram Dharma. That's one. Number two, the torment of regulating the uncontrollable mind while practicing dhyan, which is a limb of bhakti sadhana, by those who would neglect Varnashram Dharma and accept the shelter of bhakti-yoga. Number three, the difficulty of collecting appropriate articles with which to perform deity worship by those who would dedicate themselves to puja. And four, the trouble caused by the necessity of finding a speaker who is qualified and who is practicing, by those who would practice the devotional principle of shravan, of hearing about spiritual subjects. Now what's interesting here is that these categories all apply to people who are practicing bhakti yoga. And within the practice of bhakti yoga, there are these difficulties, which he calls dukh, different types of sufferings, different troubles that one encounters. But Srila Sanatana Goswami is saying that the superiority of Sri Nam is that it takes away all these sufferings. These things don't matter when you're chanting Sri Nam. You don't have to worry about Varnashram Dharma. You don't have to, the torment of controlling the mind. Sri Nam controls the mind. The difficulty of collecting the articles for puja, the Sri Nam takes that place. The trouble of finding a qualified speaker. If you cannot, then chant Sri Nam. And so this is, I was thinking so strongly of Aindra Prabhu, how he was so enthused by the potency of Sri Nam. And at one point, now I don't know if he continued this, Aindra went through phases, we all should know. At one point he decided that all the mantras for deity worship all were contained in the Hare Krishna mantra, and he was only going to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. And so, but he had great faith in Sri Nam, as was talked about by Dinabandhu Prabhu. And there are so many aspects to Aindra Prabhu's personality and his life that have inspired us all. And I was thinking of them as I was watching all the photographs, and how his deity worship was so outstanding, and so much bhav in the way that he cared for Radha Shyam Sundar. And he would stand there after dressing them, and he would like scrutinizing, making sure that everything was all right. His artistry, I didn't even know until after he left this world, because I never went up to the Brahmachari ashram. All those beautiful bas-reliefs on the walls, that he made many of them himself, and he directed others to make them. He was responsible for that. His artistry was amazing, and his dedicated, the bhav with which he chanted in the beginning. Remember, years ago, during Aindra had this time slot for a long time. In the beginning, there were just, several people chanting. Sometimes people would sit down and chant. By the end, the whole temple room was so filled with people that there was no room even for, they had to kind of squeeze people away to make room for darshan. And also here, it's like I see here in Vrindavan and Mathura, there's certain temples that have captured the hearts of the Brijvasis, and they have made them their temples. And I mean, for me, this is a real sign that the temple is successful in Vrindavan, because the Brijvasis themselves have made this their temple, that they come for the deity worship. When Aindra Prabhu, so many people from the surrounding community, the Brijvasis, were coming every day for Aindra Prabhu's kirtan. It was so wonderful. So I was thinking about all these different, and Aindra Prabhu's brahmachari ethic. Of course, I can't really speak about that because I'm not brahmachari, but I remember Gopal was telling me in the beginning, Aindra Prabhu made it a rule that everybody who was in the 24-hour kirtan had to clean the bathroom in the brahmachari ashram because it was so dirty. But he was very strong, and he would follow different vrats. He was so austere, and he would follow these different vrats. And I remember one person said to him, are all these vrats necessary? It's kind of like, the flowery words of the Vedas is unnecessary austerity. And Aindra Prabhu, he said, but what if they work? It's worth it. It's totally worth it if it works. And so, on his eccentricities, who can forget the ankle bell he wore for a long time? So I was thinking of all these different things, but the thing that really stands out in my mind, my heart, was the intensity with which he practiced. And my girlfriend, Karta, was explaining, we were talking about this intensity, and she said, yes, it reminds her of this verse, Tivrena bhakti-yogena, this burning intensity. And Aindra Prabhu had this, and it was so wonderful to see. And we all experienced it in some way. I remember, Aindra, he wasn't like necessarily a jolly fellow. In fact, for me, as a woman, he was intimidating. He was like really fiery. I remember the first time I had an encounter with him. Maybe, I might have encountered him here and there, but the first time especially was when I made an offering to Srila Prabhupada, and I was talking about how can we understand the inner mood of Srila Prabhupada? How can we understand the inner mood of Srila Prabhupada? Srila Prabhupada's inner mood is so high, but at the same time, we know what the inner mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is. And how do we know that? Because Srila Rupa Goswami has told us. And by understanding this, we can understand that Prabhupada has understood Rupa Goswami. He's understood the inner mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and that is his as well. And because, just like Srila Rupa Goswami established Prabhupada's, because he understood the manabhisht, or the innermost desires of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was able to establish his mission in this world. So also, because Prabhupada understood this, he was able to establish Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission in the Western world. And I was saying this, and I finished my offering, and then just then, Aindra Prabhu comes down, and he is like intense, and I thought furious, and I thought, God. And he said, I was listening on the radio, and I heard that, and I had to come down and say something. I wasn't planning for some reason to come down, but he said I had to come down and say something. And I thought he was going to blast me for talking about it. But he proceeded to say the same thing. And I was really shocked. And then it was like after that, and then Aindra was saying, and this is how we have to talk about Srila Prabhupada. This is how we have to glorify Srila Prabhupada. After that, I remember that I talked to Aindra. It was a little while after that, but I talked to Aindra for the first time. And it was here at the corner store, Goswami store over there. And Aindra, as you all know, was a late person. And I was also shopping late. It was like really after 9 o'clock, and Aindra happened to be there at Goswami's store. And on the steps of Goswami's store for 2.5 hours, this is what I mean by intense, Aindra told me like his life story and how it was so important to speak about Srila Prabhupada and to understand that this was, he was saying that we have to serve the external and the internal moods of Mahaprabhu, and how how do we know it? You know, the external mood of Mahaprabhu is exemplified in this verse, Anarpita Chirim Chirat Karunaya Vitirnakalo, that this verse in the 3rd chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita and the 4th chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita, the internal mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Radha Krishna Pranaya Vrikatir, like that. And so he was speaking like this, and I was just amazed that this is that he felt so strongly. It was like I could see that this desire to serve these moods of Mahaprabhu and to convey the understanding that this is what Srila Prabhupada came for, that these were driving Aindra. And I didn't really know him before that so well, but I developed great respect and great love, then an affection that he was so determined, so intensely determined, and I pray that I can get a drop of that intense determination, Tivrena bhakti-yoga. And so this is what affected me about Aindra Prabhu so much. And I also see that as with Kurmarupa Prabhu, that he was transformed also over the years, and like with Kurmarupa Prabhu, he was not on the bodily platform when he left this world, and I could see that also with Aindra Prabhu, and my own relationship with him became sweeter and sweeter, and I'm just grateful that I had his association for whatever time. Thank you.
Gurubhe Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaye Namo Namaha Panchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhuvayeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschasta Deshatarine जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि श्री गौर भक्तबिंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। श्रीपाद आयंद्र प्रभु की जय। His disappearance day की disappearance day तिथि की जय। हरे कृष्णा। सो कृष्ण शक्ति बिना नहीं तार परिवर्तन, कलिजुग धर्म है नाम संकीर्तन। तो श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु he predicted this holy name to be spread in Kali Yuga. So that Aindra Prabhu was doing this Kali Yuga Dharma, Harinam Sankirtan. So he did America. I see this, see the video this time. So how he was spreading. So then he came to Vrindavan. Actually, Vrindavan, Prabhupada wants to this kirtan, this temple. When the temple opened, he wants 24-hour kirtan should be continue in Vrindavan and Mayapur. That's his desire. So when I joined here, 1975, Harishwari was a temple commander. So that time he also, just like now they have a duty, 24-hour kirtan. So different devotees have different timing to come to do kirtan. So same thing, that time also, Harishwari make the list to different devotees, different departments to come to time to do kirtan, because he said that Prabhupada wanted. Akshayananda was the president here. So so then they come to night also. We get up us for different time, different devotees. Then we come do every time 2 hours. Our duty was there. So same thing when Aindra Prabhu came from America. So he's very enthusiastic, was doing kirtan, the play, defense, styles, Gaudiya styles, the mardanga, kartal, and the harmonious. Oh, he was a very excellent kirtan at this temple. When he came from America, everybody enjoy like anything. So that time I was Bombay. So sometime I come here Vrindavan between early 2-3 times, visit here, darshan, everything. So that time also sometime I lead Guru Puja, they give to me to lead kirtan. So I also doing kirtan is like a Gaudiya style. So, we hear from Narayan Maharaj, Krishnadas Babaji, when they were here, Prabhupada disappearance time do kirtan. So all Gaudiya Vaishnava came, they are doing very excellent kirtan, Gurudev, Kripa Bindudiya, Vaishnava Thakur, Ye Anilo Prema Dhana, tear in every devotee's eye and tear was there when Prabhupada left body, this temple. So that time then we, enjoy. So we learn from them by hearing, seeing. So and then Aindra Prabhu, he started friendship with me. He said, Prabhuji, where you stay? I say, Bombay. You not stay. Beginning I was, but now my seva is Bombay temple. I do their collection, life membership, and money collector. So because they want. So he said, no, you should come to Vrindavan, stay. This and that. He tried to teach to me every time when he come. He was very friendly with me. He always when 6:30 kirtan, after kirtan is over, he grab me and he takes me his room all the times, and he discuss me so many things. His private, personal, about the management, how it's giving him to also sometimes hard time to him. See about so much tension also, so much problem created, this and that. So many things he discussing, so many hours, and he says, stay. This. He has so much prasadam after he doing puja, a big tokri, many. So he's offering me, please take as much you can, the prasad. So I think this world over, because this Gopal Prabhu, all this, they knows me, because Aindra Prabhu's room, always I am there, because Prabhuji always calling me, come, we're sitting there, and he is talking, and same time he is worshipping the Lord also. And then he have a problem for the stay in visa in India. So he told me what to do. Can you pray for me, Prabhu? I have problem, always chant this, I have so many saligram, what it is. I say, okay, I can pray for you, but one condition, I will pray for you. Can you also help me? He said, yes, well, tell me, what can I help you? I say, okay, give me one saligrams to me, which one I wanted from this, your. First he said, no. I say, you should give it to. I require, I will worship. And because, so he said, after he said, okay, I'll give it to this. Then I told him, so now, because that time his Prime Minister is Atal Bihari Vajpayee, because BJP government was there in the capital, and Uttar Pradesh also Kalyan Singh is the Chief Minister. He was here, and this also BJP government, both sides, and the central and the state. Both sides BJP government was there. Then I give him an idea, so you should apply for this time, because Congress will never help you when Congress comes in the positions. So, but now is BJP is there. So you go and the office, you give your application. He said, oh yeah, you have given a good idea. Very nice. Maybe, yes, I should do that. Yes, you try. And I also pray for you. Then after he did, then he becomes such. Then he likes me very much. After that, he said, then after he become very close, he says, stay Vrindavan, this and that. You build house, when you are completing your house, this and that, many things. Then I told, okay, I'll try to do it. Then I finished first floor my house. He said, I want to do kirtan. Then he take all the devotees, and he did terrace big kirtan for there and my house. 2-3 times he also visited before. He said, this place very nice. When Prabhuji, when the ISKCON, they will throw me out, GBC. So I'll stay this place. I say, okay, you stay this place. I make a special room for you, this corner. You will do bhajan. He said, okay. So here like that. He tried to make the plan, this and that. Then that way, when he become good friendly, he said, you stay here, you can help me, we can do kirtan together, 24 hours. Then I'll also more, happy, please. Then every Kartik, he does fasting, upas, Kartik Barta. The end of Kartik, so he calls me in the Purnima Tithi, so that day he give me so many gifts, and Bhagavatam, some kalash, some dakshina in the back. I say, Prabhuji, why are you giving to me? You should not give to me. You are Vaishnava. I should not take from you. No, because see, in Kartik birth, I did full mass birth, so I have to give to somebody. So instead of give somebody, why should I not give to you? So he give to me, he called me, give me so much prasadam, he called me the peace. So that way, he become close friend of mine, Aindra Prabhu. So he's very great devotee. He's doing wonderful kirtan here. He encouraged whole world, because this is international center temple in Vrindavan. Prabhupada also here. So his desire, even Prabhupada stay in America, but he's thinking only the Vrindavan. So Prabhupada never stay anywhere, even become sick anywhere, he said, take back to me Vrindavan. He desire always in Vrindavan. So that way Aindra Prabhu also stay here Vrindavan with Prabhupada. So he's very kind. He did wonderful kirtan and everybody enjoy. So now every part of the world, everybody is following Aindra Prabhu's style. Just like Dinabandhu Prabhu already explained very nicely, everybody doing now this Nagar Kirtan, Kirtan Mela, all this because of Aindra Prabhu. Before nobody was doing, but after that everybody learned from Aindra Prabhu, everybody now, this is also, dharma, Kali Yuga dharma. Kali Yuga dharma hai na, Naam Sankirtan. So this is because of Aindra Prabhu, so this everybody is learning, play the mardanga, style, different, parts. So like that. So because now I'm very much missing to him. So this special occasion, I pray his lotus feet. So he can help me again because he desired me to stay Vrindavan, but now I am here in Vrindavan. He desired to be my son, should be devotee. My son already become devotee in Bombay temple, is serving brahmachari. So everything by his desire. So I am okay, whatever he say. So I am already getting by his blessings, his ashirvad. So Aindra Prabhu, I am pay obeisances his lotus feet. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hello, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. Aindra Prabhu ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Dhanyavad.
Nirvisesha, impersonalism, Sunyavadi, impersonalism and voidism. So Aindra Prabhu would speak about this a lot, that the holy name of the Lord can destroy impersonalism and voidism. The last few days I've been thinking about Aindra Prabhu and this, these points that he would make on the disciplic succession of the mercy, how we're getting the mercy of the holy name, how we're getting the mercy of intelligence to do our service, how we're getting the mercy of this movement, this bhakti process that Srila Prabhupada has so kindly given us. And he would talk about how this mercy is coming down, descending from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as Manjari Prabhu was so beautifully describing through Rupa Goswami and through the association of all the Vaishnavas that Srila Prabhupada has established all over the world. So this succession of mercy is something that Aindra Prabhu used to speak about, that we need to be very much thinking about that. So we're not thinking that we're the doer, that we're not thinking that we have all the knowledge and we have the fame, the name, the position, but that is always, we always give our credit to whatever our service is, to our spiritual master, to the disciplic succession, to the mercy of the holy name, and the mercy of the association of the Vaishnavas. Aindra Prabhu used to say, well, when he would come for his kirtan, if all the Vaishnavas didn't come, then we wouldn't be able to have kirtan. So there was the Shravanam and the Kirtanam, and the devotees who would come and participate. It increased the enthusiasm and it increased the fervor of those kirtans. When I was thinking about how this month, 3 of my very dear godbrothers and very dear long-time friends, Brahmananda Prabhu and Kurmarupa Prabhu and Aindra Prabhu, and all 3 of them made very distinct contributions to Srila Prabhupada's mission, movement. And all 3 of them, as well as Dinabandhu was saying, why we all joined was the mercy of Srila Prabhupada giving us this ecstatic service to do all day long, the chanting and dancing and distributing his books. And there was always this distribution of the mercy. We were always giving the mercy. And Aindra Prabhu used to say how the more that we give the mercy, then of course there's that reciprocation where we get that mercy from within the heart. And Prabhupada's books, the knowledge of Prabhupada's books are revealed. Aindra Prabhu used to say that whenever we have a problem, just go to the holy name. if there's some question on some situation, go to the holy name. The holy name, as we hear almost every day, is non-different than Krishna. So if Krishna was personally standing right here and we had the opportunity to get his shelter and his personal solace, then of course we would. So we have this in the holy name. And Aindra Prabhu was always giving everyone who he met or who he touched this kind of awareness of the holy name. Aindra Prabhu had a very heavy side, but he also had a very kind of comical side, you might say. And I got the mercy of sharing that side of him. And we had this thing in front of Krishna and Balaram and Radhe Shyam. I would say, oh, look at the way Balaram's holding his plow today, and how the flowers are all around his elbow, his right elbow. And Aindra Prabhu would say, what, did you see how the garland was just flowing over Srimati Radharani's thumb with the hand that is extended that holds the garland? And we would have this little thing, Krishna Balaram, Radhe Shyam, and it was very wonderful because it would just increase your desire to want to fill up your mind with, oh, what does the Lord look like today? What does his arms look like? What does his neck look? What kind of turban is he wearing today? And Aindra Prabhu had so much respect and love for all the ladies every day who make the malas for Nitai Gaur, Krishna Balaram, Radhe Shyam, Srila Prabhupada every day. And he felt that all of them were like gopis. And they would make these garlands. And if you ever have the opportunity to go there and see their daily service, it's very transcendental. One lady's making garlands for the wrists, and another's making for the ankles. And Aindra Prabhu was always very excited to see the garland of Srimati Radharani and Shyam, and he would take so much time. Although as time went on, he was able to dress them in a very short amount of time. And he became so fluid, you might say, with that service. And as we all know, when his book first came out, it was quite controversial with our GBC and with our leaders of our movement, and it kind of caused a schism, you might say. You know, devotees were wondering, oh, should we read it, should we not, you know, and Aindra Prabhu was kind of keeping me informed of different things, critical things that were being said. And of course his kirtan boys and all of us who were in his fan club, we were all supporting him to just do it. So then we were at one function of Kurmarupas at Care for Cows, and there's a noted picture, and Aindra Prabhu's got this big smile on his face, and I'm whispering into his ear, and I'm telling him that, or I was suggesting to him that if you put a little silver band on the corner of the book and put banned by the GBC, it'll be a big hit. It'll be a bestseller overnight. And he was, oh, that's a great idea. So because he was like a radical, a spiritual revolutionary, you might say, and we were all like that in the 60s. We were, you know, revolutionizing against the government, Vietnam, and then Srila Prabhupada comes, and he's like the perfect spiritual revolutionary with the way he looked, and he had the perfect solution for all the problems that were going on in the world at that time. And Aindra Prabhu would often remark that he felt like he was kind of a little bit of a rebel, so to speak, and he just didn't want to go along with what everybody felt was a devotee. He was willing to look much more beyond that. And I'm a little bit of a rebel myself, and so I was attracted to that in him, and attracted to that in Srila Prabhupada as well. And actually, if we see the disciplic succession, we see that all the personalities, the Goswamis and the associates of Mahaprabhu, they were all very bold, and they were willing to stand up for the holy name of Krishna and Lord Chaitanya's mission. And Aindra Prabhu, as I was mentioning to Preeti, when Dwarkadish had his shop over there, and there would be these evening discussions, and different devotees would show up, and you just kind of come and go. But Aindra Prabhu very rarely talked about himself. I started to pick up on this. He was fully absorbed in giving the credit, you might say, to Srila Prabhupada's movement and to the chanting of the holy name, to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to Srila Rupa Goswami and the Goswamis, and our disciplic succession. And he would always say, and by the mercy of the association of the devotees, that mercy is churned up, and we're able to actually, tangibly taste a little bit the mercy of the holy name. So, so many memories. Aindra Prabhu, there was a fight, you might say, one night under the tamal tree, and Aindra Prabhu actually had to kind of separate these two devotees. And he was looking at each of them, and he's saying, why have this drama, this fight? I'm right, you're right. Let's just put aside these kind of dramas. We're in Sri Vrindavan Dham. Sri Vrindavan Dham. How is it possible that we're even, allowed to be here? And because of the intensity of his conviction, his faith in Sri Vrindavan Dham, the holy name, Srila Prabhupada, and the transcendental atmosphere that we get to live here in and serve in, these two young boys, very young, they were just stunned. They were stunned that he was taking the time to speak to them, but also his conviction, his faith, and being able to separate what's really important every day and what's not so important, and leave the things that aren't so favorable or palatable. Krishna will correct. Srila Prabhupada and the entire disciplic succession, they know how to do the needful, but their mercy. But if we can just concentrate on our own heart, Aindra Prabhu, our own heart and our own journey, and cry out for the mercy for our own journey of bhakti to the lotus feet of our Guru and the disciplic succession, this is what's most important. Both of these boys just fell on their heads in the temple room and under the tamal tree. And then they started sitting at the kirtan circle. And when I see all these young men coming from all over the world to sit down at the 24-hour kirtan, it's not such an easy service. You might think, oh, you just sit there and you play the harmonium and you play, but it's actually it's a very difficult service. It's actually austerity. These young men, they sit there, for 3-4 hours. They put their full mind and meditation into each of the syllables of the holy name, as Aindra Prabhu used to share with us. And then they have to do their sadhana, and they have to do their cleaning. I remember that too, about Aindra wanting everyone to clean the bathroom, because actually that's what we used to do when we joined the movement. Cleaning was one of our first services, cleaning bathrooms, cleaning each other's room. There was a lot of cleaning. Prabhupada told us cleanliness is next to godliness, that famous quote, and that cleaning is a very important part of sadhana bhakti, cleaning our hearts. So Aindra Prabhu, as has been mentioned, has inspired so many younger devotees to take up the service of hearing and chanting the holy name. And as Dinabandhu was saying, there's actually one devotee now who's made a Facebook page, "Get the Hare Krishnas back on the street." And it's true, in the early days, everywhere you went, the Hare Krishnas were on the street, and now we've become a little bit more inside. But at the same time, there's still many festivals and Harinams going on all over the world, and Aindra Prabhu certainly gets a lot of the credit for establishing so much emphasis on these chanting festivals. And so I'm very grateful that I got to have long-term friendship with my dear brother and friend and great Baba, great sadhu, great devotee of Srila Prabhupada, and who wasn't afraid to speak up when he had something to say. Of course, how we speak up in time and circumstance, common sense, these all things come into play, but we shouldn't be afraid to speak up if there's something that's confusing us, disturbing us. We used to be able to go to Brahmananda, Kormarupa, Aindra Prabhu, and the list is getting a little shorter, but at the same time, we can go to the holy name, and we can go to the mercy that's here, that's inundated, each molecule of Sri Vrindavan Dham, as Aindra Prabhu used to say, and in this way we can take shelter of the holy name and what Srila Prabhupada has so kindly given us. Thank you for letting me say a few things about Aindra Prabhu.
Actually, I have a few offerings to read from other devotees, just a couple. The first one is from His Grace Bhubaneswar Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisances to all the assembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Aindra's passing was a great shock to all of us. We came to know after that this was not by chance or anything else. A devotee saw his palm and said he had a short lifeline. So it was his destiny. When one's karma runs out, one leaves his body. Time and tide waits for no man. Aindra had a very unique character. He was eccentric in his dress and dealings, not in a bad way, but different. He was always ready to do service day or night. His clock did not have any hands. So he would dress Radhe Sham or do kirtan for a departing soul at a moment's notice. He led a detached life, accepting only the bare minimum. He was also well versed in the scriptures and was always trying to bring devotees to a higher standard. He would say, "This is not the society for Vaidhi Bhakti, but we should try to come to a higher level of consciousness." We loved his kirtans and still listen to them. He was very expert at whatever he did and would always see the work to the finish. His recorded CDs were very good, especially Vrindavan Mellows. He revived the 24-hour kirtan here in Krishna Balaram Mandir as Srila Prabhupada wanted. It is continuing nicely today. All glories to Aindra Prabhu. Jai Radhe, yours Bhubaneswar Das. One more offering I will read is from His Grace Bhagavat Purana Prabhu. He's addressing this letter. Dear Babaji Maharaj, they said that you were, quote, too austere after you not once but twice had asked to be on the sannyas waiting list. And then when you left for Radha Krishna Loka, they wrote you a thank you letter. Thanks, but no thanks? Question mark. We are the losers. They are the losers. What a loss. What a loss. But you were never a loser, never. You were Dhira Adhira, merciful to the gentle and to the ruffians. And you were truly soft as a rose, hard as a thunderbolt. The Spanish maxim, sin pelos en la bocha, translates in English as no double talk, fits your living example perfectly. No nonsense, no nonsense. And now get serious from your Braj Bilas album. Shripad Kirtan Chandra Namanandi Aindradas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. your servant, Bhagavat Purana Das. Hare Krishna. I'll just try to say a few words, I guess. I'm very embarrassed to speak out of turn. For the past few years, we've been hoping to produce a biography about Aindra Prabhu. People always ask me, how's it going? And I'm not really sure what to say. I hope it's going well. My role in the book was to collect interviews. I think I interviewed about 70 devotees or so to try to hear their stories about Aindra Prabhu. And that part of the book is complete. Now it's being written and edited and so on. So I just thought to share a few stories that have been collected about Aindra Prabhu, trying not to repeat myself from previous festivals. There was once a devotee who was just meeting Aindra Prabhu. And so Aindra was asking him where he's from, his name, about his service, and so on. And that devotee had come to Vrindavan because he was having trouble finishing his japa. He was so engaged. His devotee is from Delhi, and he was so he had so much service to do that he had a lot of rounds that he had missed for some time. So his Guru Maharaj sent him to Vrindavan just to catch up on all the rounds that he had missed. So he was meeting Aindra Prabhu, and Aindra was asking him about who he was. And Aindra, at one point, he said, "Are you chanting 16 rounds?" "Yes, Prabhu." "Every day?" "Yes, Prabhu." "Every day without fail?" And the devotee said it was like amazing. It was like, how did he understand? Well, actually, Prabhu, that's my struggle. I'm having trouble with my 16 rounds. I've come here to catch up on rounds that I've missed. And Aindra completely blasted him. "This is nonsense. How can you do that? How can you miss your 16 rounds?" He said, "Well, I have this service doing this preaching project." Aindra said, "To hell with that preaching project." He said, "The most important service to the spiritual master is to chant 16 rounds every day without fail." He said, "You can make up your rounds, but the instruction of the spiritual master is to chant 16 rounds a day. And if you'll miss your 16 rounds one day, that is a guru avagya. One has disobeyed the order of their spiritual master. So even if you make up your rounds on another day, that day will not come back. And so that guru avagya may still be there." That devotee, he asked Aindra Prabhu, "I'm living in Delhi. How can I remember Vrindavan while I'm living in Delhi?" And so Aindra Prabhu said, "Oh, you should read the Vrindavan Mahimamrita by Prabodhananda Saraswati. That's a very beautiful book, full of so many glories of Vrindavan, so many things about gopis and manjaris." And then Aindra asked this devotee, he said, "Have you read all of Srila Prabhupada's books?" And the devotee said, "Well, almost. I haven't quite finished them." And again, Aindra blasted that person. "How can you be in this ISKCON society and not have read all of Srila Prabhupada's books? I read all of Srila Prabhupada's books within the first 4 years of my joining the Hare Krishna movement. I read all the big books, all the small books, and even all the Back to Godhead magazines." He said at that time, the 11th and 12th canto had not been published, but if those had been published, I would have read those books too. He said, it's important, immediately you should read all of Srila Prabhupada's books, and until you read all of Srila Prabhupada's books, don't touch any other book. You're not going to understand any books until you read all of Srila Prabhupada's books. Once a devotee was he was saying to Aindra Prabhu, Aindra Prabhu, you've started such a trend with your kirtan that there's so many young devotees that are enthusiastic to follow you, and they say, we just do kirtan, but I ask them if they chant japa, and I see that some of them, they're not chanting japa, and they'll just say, no, kirtan, that's the Yuga Dharma, that's what's important. We don't worry about japa, we're just doing kirtan. And Aindra's response was, I never preach such nonsense. I'm chanting 116 rounds every day. If someone wants to follow me, at least they can chant their 16 rounds. This devotee said that sometimes ladies wanted to speak with Aindra Prabhu, probably here in the alleyway next to the temple. And a few times, Aindra would never, because he was very strict in his renunciation, he wouldn't like to speak to ladies just alone. So he would always catch this person and make him stand next to him. And so he described one of those encounters. He said, and if the ladies would come closer, Aindra would come closer to me, and he would put his arm around me until, he was like practically hanging on to me. He said that happened. So he said one time there were a couple of Russian ladies, and they were challenging Aindra Prabhu. And they were saying, Aindra Prabhu, why is it that the ladies can't go on the altar here in Vrindavan? And they also made some challenge, and why the ladies can't wear Brahmin threads. And so Aindra Prabhu's answer was, just by understanding the structure of the woman's body, you can see that it's not possible to wear a Brahmin thread. And he said, as far as going on the altar, that's the tradition here. The ladies don't go on the altar. And they complained, they said, but in our country, the ladies do go on the altar. Aindra Prabhu said, that's for preaching. If we were to do like that here in Vrindavan, the Goswamis would chastise us like anything. And so there were so many arguments like that back and forth. At the end, these ladies said, they became satisfied. And they said, today the Gopas have defeated the gopis. And they were looking at it kind of in an external way. They were thinking Aindra Prabhu and this brahmachari, they were like the gopas and that they were like the gopis. So Aindra, his response was, it's not possible for the gopas to defeat the gopis. I am not a gopa, I am a gopi. Maybe you are a gopa. And today, the gopis have defeated you. Several of the devotees have spoken about Aindra Prabhu's cleaning the bathrooms in the brahmachari ashram. One time, Aindra Prabhu, he said, without cleaning the toilets, no one can attain Gopi Bhav. He said, this ashram has been given to us by our spiritual master, and it's our duty to maintain this ashram. If we don't maintain this ashram, and what kind of service are we doing to our spiritual master? So in that way, he had a mood that toilet cleaning was his means of achieving the Gopi Bhav. We know that at the end of Aindra Prabhu's time here, in 2009 he spoke at the Disapearance Festival of Srila Prabhupada here, and people have already said Aindra Prabhu, he had a nature that was very fiery and strong. He could also be very sweet and kind. And in my own experience with Aindra, when it was time to preach, he could really be like as hard as a thunderbolt. Afterwards, when it was maybe, there was other times when he would be very sweet. But if it was times for him to preach, say, he would say it, everything in the strongest terms. So somehow he had something very, very strong to say, and it's all written in his book. And if you read what he writes in the book, and you can understand his message in context, it's clear. And I think everyone can appreciate the essence of what he's saying. But the way that he spoke at that Disappearance festival was very disruptive to the minds of many devotees. And it upset a lot of devotees, including very nice, very senior devotees. Bhubaneshwar Prabhu made a comment. One of the God brothers, Bhubaneshwar Prabhu was speaking with one of his God brothers who was criticizing Aindra very strongly. How could he speak like that? That was such a disturbance to the festival. He's saying to hell with all of these things. Bhubaneshwar Prabhu said, maybe he is in the mood of the Yogic Brahmins. At the end of the story of the wives of the Yogic Brahmins condemn themselves. What is the meaning of to hell with our Brahminical birth and our austerities and our learning and our sacrifices and so on, because we didn't recognize Krishna. So that comment got back to Aindra Prabhu. Aindra appreciated that very much and said, thank you very much for understanding my mood. Later, there was a South Indian Brahmin who had come to do a marriage ceremony for some rich person. And that South Indian Brahmin, I think maybe he was quite a qualified person. And he came to Vrindavan to do a marriage. And he came to the temple, and he really appreciated Aindra Prabhu's kirtan. He really appreciated the dressing and the decoration of the deities, and he wanted to meet Aindra Prabhu. And he went up to Aindra's room, and Aindra Prabhu has a collection of thousands of shalagram shilas, and they're all in these big round trays. And one of those trays is full of shalagram shilas that are like Ugra Nastringa shilas. There's one tray, right in the middle of the tray, there's kind of a reddish Ugra Nastringa shila that it looks pretty fierce. Aindra Prabhu's mood was to worship all of those shalagrams in the mood of Shama Sundar, and his mood was not to discriminate so much if this shila has this form. Even in the Shastra, there's warnings that if you'll worship a red shila, you can get sick, or if a cracked shila, there may be something inauspicious for the worshipper. His mood was, regardless of the form of the shila, I'm begging Krishna that he will accept me in spite of any faults that I have. So I'm ready to accept Krishna in any form that he takes as well. So anyway, this South Indian Brahmin, he saw that tray full of the Ugra Nastringa shilas, including that very ferocious looking shila. And his comment was, these shilas should be put in water immediately. They should be immersed in water, and otherwise, if you're just leaving them like this, worshiping like this, it can be something very dangerous for you. He said there can be a very horrible fire in your life, and you may die in that fire also. So that person said that. Later, there was a senior devotee who was a friend of Aindra Prabhu. He came and he told Aindra Prabhu, Prabhu, I'm coming to you just as a friend, not in any official position, but just as a friend. My advice to you is, you should not publish this book, because of that disappearance offering, many devotees were so disturbed, and they're going to be really angry with you if you publish this book. And so my advice is, you just don't publish this book. Maybe after you pass away, this book can be published. And Aindra's response to that was, I thought that I would just have to pay a few lakhs of rupees to have this book published. But if that's the price that needs to be paid for this book to be published, if I have to lose my life for this book to be published, I'm willing to pay that price as well. On the last day that I was with Aindra Prabhu, it was about 5 weeks before he passed away. I had just spent a very wonderful period with him on the 24-hour kirtan. I felt our relationship had become very sweet at that time, actually. I mean, there's millions of things I could say, but he was really sweet and kind to me. And on the last day, he was going into his room, and I was living in the ashram in the room right next door. And I remember he had his harmonium on his shoulder, and he had his key on his Brahmin thread. It was attached to his Brahmin thread, and he was like putting the key into his door. And he looked at me and he said, "I heard that you're leaving today." And I said, "Yes, Prabhu, we're leaving this evening." Very, very in a very emotional way, in a very serious way, in a very strong way. It really took me off guard. He looked at me very seriously and he said, "I'm really going to miss you." The weekend that Aindra passed away, we were in Toronto for Rath Yatra, and there was many of the devotees that were associated with Aindra Prabhu were there in Toronto. Gopal Prabhu was there, Madhava Prabhu was there, Amal Harinam, Prashant was there, Nakula was there, probably others I'm forgetting. But the Gopal had arranged, like Dinabandha Prabhu and others were saying, that Aindra Prabhu was a big inspiration for kirtan festivals. So Gopal, before that Rath Yatra, he arranged a kirtan festival in Toronto on Thursday and Friday, and then the Rath Yatra was Saturday and Sunday. I think it was a 12-hour kirtan each day. And so before the festival started, because of the time difference, it was like, right before Mangal Artik, like 4 a.m. Gopal, he called Aindra Prabhu, and he was telling him about the festival and how it was, it was about to start. And I think Gopal and Madhava were calling Aindra, praying for Aindra Prabhu's blessings. And so I just kind of had come from taking my bath, and Gopal just said over the Skype, he said, "Oh, Aindra Prabhu, Akinchana is here." He says, "Haribol." And Aindra Prabhu's comment was, "You tell him to get his butt back here as soon as possible." So then we had that Kirtan festival, and the culmination of the Kirtan festival, we went in Toronto, we went out on Nagar Sankirtan into the middle of the Toronto city. We went for a few hours, and we had a really blissful Harinam. And actually I remember, it was like, what I remember about it was, everyone was in a really light mood, and Madhava Prabhu can be like a real joker. And I remember for part of the kirtan, they asked me to lead the kirtan, and Madhava was like cutting so many jokes that I was like, it was like difficult to control my laughter, while I remember it being difficult to sing. So it was like a very jovial mood. We got back to the temple, and somehow a message came through. Oh, the other thing that had been said on that Skype meeting was Aindra Prabhu said that in the Shastra it says one isn't supposed to shave during the Chaturmasya, and he liked to follow those types of austerities and vrats. And so he said, but the temple management is upset, they don't like me to keep a beard. And so Aindra Prabhu's solution was, there's some kind of chemical that just takes the hair, it can take the hair off of a person's body without one having to shave. So you just like apply a chemical and leave it on for a few minutes, and you wash it off and your hair comes off. So Aindra felt I can use that kind of chemical cream, and in that way I won't be going against the Shastra because I won't actually be shaving, but at the same time I won't disturb anybody because I won't be keeping a beard. So he asked us to get that, and the name that he called it was called Bro Cream, because I guess because black people in America use that sometimes. I'm not sure why. So Aindra said, if you could get me some Bro Cream, because just like now, Chaturmasya is about to start in a couple of weeks. So Chaturmasya was about to start in a couple of weeks, so he wanted someone to bring that to him. So anyway, so we got back from the Harinam, and I remember there was some, that message had kind of like come through, and it wasn't clear at first. It was just something like, what? Like some impossible, that can't be true. We just heard like that, and I just kind of turned to Madhava and I said, what? Is that true? And I just remember Madhava saying, no, man, he needs his Bro Cream. Hare Krishna. Anyway, forgive me if I got a little off track. I'll just end with one beautiful glorification I heard from Giriraj Swami. He told that he made a comment once, in the whole history of all of ISKCON, in the whole history of all of Gaudiya Math, there's only one Aindra Prabhu. Thank you. Aindra Prabhu ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Radhikaya tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivadari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Nama Eva Kevalam Kolam Nastyeva Gatiranyata. His great Srila Aindra Prabhu ki. So, we're very fortunate to be assembled here in Sri Vrindavan Dham and discussing about the wonderful qualities of Aindra Prabhu, who is a very dear devotee of Srila Prabhupada, of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Gonitai and Sri Radha Shyamasundar, and who has inspired so many devotees in chanting the holy names, and by his strong endeavor, the 24-hour kirtan, so it's well established now, and it is continuing very nicely even after his disappearance. So which happened 6 years ago, 2010, right? Yeah. So there's an auspicious day today according to the Vaishnav calendar, Hera Panchami. As we know, the Rath Yatra festival is there, and 4 days after Rath Yatra, Lakshmi Devi is feeling why Jagannath is still there, not coming back, and there's a beautiful description of that in the Chaitanya Charitamrita about Lakshmi Devi, of course, and her mood, and which Mahaprabhu then was relishing as two of his dear devotees were discussing, one taking the side of the gopis and Srimati Radharani and Braj Bhav, and the others about the Vaikuntha Bhav. So Hera Panchami, and actually on this day, in the evening, he left this body, most probably around 9:30, 10 o'clock, and the next day was actually on that day the Vakreshwar Pandit's disappearance day. Today we're observing that also today because the tithis are overlapping. And so Vakreshwar Pandit is a great, as we know, Kirtaniya, and it is also certainly by the Lord's will that so his disappearance is there also, Aindra Prabhu's, and then even his appearance is coincidentally with the disappearance of Vasudev Ghosh, a great Kirtaniya also in Mahaprabhu's time. So I had the good fortune of having a lot of association with Aindra Prabhu, and we had a very wonderful relationship, and I considered him my very dear friend. We were very good friends. Of course, he was senior to me, so I accepted him as Shiksha Guru also. But he always treated me as a friend, and even I remember when I came after he had come to Vrindavan in '86. I came 1 year later in '87. And so I went to the room to see him because already we met in New York. That's the first time I met Aindra Prabhu in 1984. Although I joined here in Vrindavan, I was in Switzerland for 1 year, and then I went to New York in '84, and we met there, and we quite immediately developed a relationship, a friendly relationship, and already that time I spent quite some time with him. And so when, of course, when he went to India in '86, and so some separation was there, but then we met again by the will of the Lord in '87 when I came. That was just before Radhashtami. And so then, as I went to the room, also I offered him obeisances, and he told me, "You don't have to offer obeisances. We are like friends. You just sit down and be formal and be open, and we are friends." So in other words, he always showed to me his very loving side, and beyond formality, although he was definitely also following the rules of regulations which we have to follow, but he was not so much into formality, but he was more spontaneous in his approach to the service of the Lord and in his dealings with devotees. But at the same time, as junior devotees, we still have to have always this respect for the senior devotees. So then I kept my respect within my heart, and externally we were very good friends. So already in New York, so very quickly we had a friendship, and so we spent quite a lot of time together talking about, of course, Krishna consciousness, about Harinam Sankirtan. That was his life, Harinam Sankirtan. He had his deities at that time, Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta, and Gonitai. At that time he didn't have any shilas actually, in the early days. But only after coming to Vrindavan he got Govardhan shilas first, and then he got some Shaligram shilas, and more and more and more and more, till we know at the end he had 2,240 something Shaligram shilas. And so he was doing daily his worship, and but then his life was actually doing Harinam in the streets of New York, in a self-made truck turned into a temple also. opening from the side, and he was sitting there with his devotees doing kirtan for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Sri Gonitai. And he was there for many hours doing that every day, mostly every day. And actually even there he was already on that platform and having his own sadhana, although he was living in the temple. But I hardly saw him for Mangalatik. I hardly saw him for the Guru Puja or even the class. Even he was hardly giving class, although there were no many devotees and he was so learned, I mean, in the scriptures, and he had so much already at that time. We could see love for Krishna and Mahaprabhu and his spiritual master, but he had his own program and definitely following rules and regulations, but he was on a higher platform, definitely of following Raganuga Bhakti, following the eternal inhabitants of Krishna in Braj. So he had his own schedule and his own sadhana, and which was very, very strong, and based on chanting the holy names around. And so even at that time already he was chanting many rounds, many times he was chanting one leg. But again at the same time there he was not fanatical that every day you have to chant one leg. Sometimes he was doing some repair on his truck, and then he was going out on kirtan, and then he was chanting just 16 rounds for some time. But he tried already that time to chant one leg. And and that time already he was very austere. So somebody just commented that when he came here he was very austere after they didn't give him sannyas. But no, even before, when he was in New York, 1984, 85, 86, he was extremely austere. He was doing Chaturmas every year, and more austere than here. At that time just eating khichdi once a day. And so the most austere form of the Chaturmas he was doing in New York, even more than here. So, but still he was going out on Sankirtan and he was chanting many rounds. So I was immediately very much impressed. And so I sought his association as much as possible. Although I was Pujari at that time, and I was busy on the altar because in the West mostly do not have many Pujaris. So I was doing most of the offerings and artics and dressing the deities. At that time we were dressing 3 times a day. But whenever he was around in the temple and had the opportunity, I would spend some time with him, which was always very enlivening. And so right from that time we had a very good relationship, strong relationship, and when he came to India and then I came later, that continued. And here, so it was even more wonderful for me because I had more time to spend with him. First I was teacher in the Gurukul, and so I had my seva there, but I had time to spend with him. And actually for some time, there was actually a strike here one time. The brahmacharis, they were not obeying the head pujari, and so he was a little upset with them, and then they had a strike and they didn't go on the altar. And then the ladies had an opportunity, one-time opportunity, to dress the deities there, here in our temple. They were not doing artik, but they were doing the seva, dressing the deities morning and evening for a few days. And so they were very happy, and so. But then the head pujari at that time, he knew that I have to, as Kinchan Prabhu was saying, I have to have the standard, only men on the altar, otherwise will be criticized if somebody is hearing. So he asked the different devotees who were there, and because he didn't want to call back the pujaris who were on strike. And so then he asked Aindra Prabhu, because he had heard that you know, and he knew him, of course, also, and he was asking him, why don't you dress Radheshyam? And he was very happy, and then he dressed Radheshyam, and in a very wonderful way, and I think then going in a new direction from that time on in the dressing of the deities, especially here, much more wonderful way, natural way, more beautiful, and you could see that practically Radha Krishna there and ready to go to dance. So they were dancing in such a way, elegantly hanging the cloth, and it was really always looking like they were dancing. And that was a kind of a new thing in ISKCON, because most the standard was to hang the cloth, and it was just straight, hanging the cloth. But then he created this kind of movements in the dressing of the deities, and which was very beautiful and attractive. And so then he was dressing the deities actually for 8 months. But as he was following Raganuga Bhakti, he was remembering the pastimes while dressing the deities, which should be done. He was very strict in following Prabhupada's mood actually, and his instructions, and the previous acharyas, but because he was following Raganuga Bhakti, and so therefore the external sadhana of his was extraordinary, and sometimes also, as we heard, not going to Mangalatik, and so because he was up all night serving his deities and chanting the holy names and discussing Krishna Katha and taking rest at 2 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes it happened that he just talked till 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, and then it's time to go on the altar, taking a bath and then going to the altar to dress the deities, and afterwards crashing out and taking a few hours rest. So completely on the spontaneous platform, but he had his own sadhana, following Raganuga Bhakti. And so I had the association, but then at one point, because he was absorbed in remembering Radha Krishna's pastimes, and as we know in the Leela of Radha and Krishna, sometimes the gopis and Radha Kund at night time also, they're playing together, and the gopis are stealing the flute. Krishna's flute, and then Krishna has to look for the flute. So in that mood, he put the flute in Radharani's hand, in her left hand, and she was holding the flute, and then when we opened the curtain, so Shyamasundar didn't have the flute. So most devotees, they really appreciated that, and including myself, I thought that was very nice. Although when we open the curtains, usually in deity worship, we make sure we tell the pujaris, because sometimes they're not in that mood of the lila, but they're just simply forgetting. Because they're in a hurry or they're not conscious, they're forgetting the flute or the peacock feather. So before opening, we always tell the pujaris, and we make sure that they have the flute in Krishna's hand, and Krishna has a peacock feather. So but he, by purpose, he put the flute in Radharani's hand. And devotees, of course, many they were appreciating, but some senior devotees, they were objecting, this is not proper. And then they chastised him, and they told the head pujari at that time that, this is not acceptable. And then, and he should try to dress the deities and follow the ISKCON standard. And that should not be done. And so the head pujari told him, and Aindra was not so happy that he got chastised. And the next day he dressed the deities, very simple. Not hanging the cloth, just garland was there and some few necklaces, and just putting a crown on the deities, and he was still upset. And then actually he came to me, and he was telling me, actually I decided that I don't want to continue dressing the deities. And then he asked me to take up the service, and then I took up the service, and then I served the deities. And then actually for almost 2 years he was not dressing the deities. But then in meantime, I was that time then Pujari for Radheshyam, and in the meantime then I became head Pujari. And I felt that because he was such an expert dresser and wonderful devotee, and in the best of consciousness, and in one purport Prabhupada is explaining, actually in the famous verse from Prahlad Maharaj, Shavanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Parasevanam Archanam, beautiful purport by Srila Prabhupada explaining about the hearing and the chanting, which is most important in devotional life, and then he's explaining about deity worship, and there he's explaining that actually deity worship starts when the pujari is absorbed in hearing and chanting about Krishna. And so he was the best pujari actually, because he was absorbed in hearing and chanting about Krishna and glorifying Krishna. So he had the most exalted consciousness. And even there's a book by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhajan Rahasya, The Secrets of How to Do Bhajan. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, there in the introduction, is explaining about deity worship. And is explaining about two forms of deity worship. One is simply the archan, externally waving the ghee lamp and dressing the deities, but there's no real bhav there, only that Krishna is God and I'm the servant of God, but not absorbed. And then whereas the more advanced, the Nitya Seva, when the devotee is more absorbed in hearing and chanting the pastimes, about the pastimes of the Lord, and then he's actually able to properly serve the deities. So he was on that platform, absorbed in remembering the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And then he was dressing the deities, and therefore the deities were so beautiful. The dressing was so excellent. And because Krishna was then so satisfied and present there by the love of and the absorption of Aindra Prabhu. So therefore I felt he should come back and dress the deities, and I requested him, because I was that time also very busy as head pujari. I was dressing morning, evening, doing many artics and managing the departments, and so I asked him to dress once a week. And then during the festivals, and I asked him to come also, and we were dressing together Radha Shama Sundar. So he was always dressing Shama Sundar, and I was dressing Srimati Radharani. And sometimes other times we are dressing together, and then and many times during dressing the deities I was asking some question, and we were talking about Radha and Krishna, their pastimes. And I used to go to his room and then asking me a question, and then he was giving the answer, and that was taking sometimes 2 hours or 3 hours. So he was so absorbed in Radha and Krishna, and he could just go on and go on and go on. So very amazing and special personality, and I learned so much from him, and so he was a great inspiration for me in my spiritual life, in my deity worship, and so that was a great contribution, and of course, but his most important contribution was establishing the 24-hour kirtan, and so which Prabhupada actually started, and it was this desire to have 24-hour kirtan here, Akhanda Kirtan in the Krishna Brahm temple. Devotees at Prabhupada's time, after the deities were installed, so they were doing for some time, but they were not able to keep up because there were not so many devotees. And the other things were to do, and then after Prabhupada left, and very shortly after that it stopped, and then they only had artik. During the artik they had kirtan, normal kirtans, and other times they were having the tape of Prabhupada singing different bhajans. But then Aindra Prabhu, when he came here, so first he wanted to do some preaching, also with a truck he wanted to do. But as he was seeing that there was no kirtan, and he had heard that there should be 24-hour kirtan, then he decided, so in the same year when he came, that he wanted to start the kirtan, 24-hour kirtan. And then he started on Ram Vijay Utsav, the day when Ramchandra Bhagavan killed Ravana. So that is just a few days before Kartik. So on that day he started, and so it has been going on without fail since that time. And he was struggling a lot, especially in the beginning, but even up to the end, practically, with having enough devotees and also fund to maintain the department, because he was not depending on the temple for that. But still somehow he was putting so much energy in that, and especially in the beginning, many hours singing and inspiring the other devotees, and he was able to maintain. And due to having such an impact on many devotees, and then devotees all over the world, they became inspired by his kirtans, the CDs which were produced, first the cassettes and then the CDs, that all over the world they're playing. Even now they're playing the CDs of Aindra Prabhu, and there are so many devotees, especially from the younger generation, who are doing the kirtans in different places, then having been inspired by Aindra Prabhu, and then also singing the same tunes as he was singing. So, which is definitely a very big inspiration for so many devotees, and so so that was his great contribution, and he was very knowledgeable in the scriptures and the Siddhanta of our Guru Vaishnava philosophy, and he was able to enliven many devotees by his preaching, Krishna Katha and the philosophy, and so his classes were wonderful. Sometimes, of course, too long. The devotees were, even the management sometimes only was speaking till 11 or 12 o'clock, so they were telling him, you have to stop now. And so then sometimes, for some time, they were not letting him give class because he was just speaking too long. And there were many devotees, then they were just sitting there in the class and relishing, of course, but then they were many times not going to do the services. So then, so very wonderful devotee and great contribution to our society, especially the deity worship and the kirtan, 24-hour kirtan, and so and an inspiration to the lives of so many devotees. Even if there were no kirtaniyas or there were no pujaris, he was enlivening so many devotees in their spiritual life and being their guide and helping them in their spiritual life. So on this day, so we pray for his mercy that we can become also absorbed in chanting the holy names and advance more and more and be more and more absorbed in Golila and Krishna Lila. Shivadainda Prabhu ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Hare Krishna.
I think it was Krishna, that Bindu book. Madhavendra Puri, he published that book. What's the name of that book? Bindu, that Bindu only, right? No, Bindu. Which? Krishna, yeah. No. Which Madhavendra Puri? He, that publication. Bhubaneswar, in Bhubaneswar, he came that book. Yeah. So there was one book. So he saw that book, and then he started reading. So while he was reading, somehow or other his finger nose in his nose. And he was reading for 10 minutes, 10 or 15 minutes. But the whole 10 to 15 minutes, his nose was, his finger was there in his nose. And he was just taking the things out, Sorry to say that, but it was really funny. And also one time he came to our house. He wanted to see the TV. I mean, like the bhakti channels he wanted to see, because he wanted to, put his kirtans over the TV. So he wanted to come and see. So what happened that he came, we on the TV, and as we on the TV, it was Tom and Jerry Cartoon Network was on. So instead of watching anything else, he was 20 minutes, he was kept on watching Tom and Jerry. And he said after that when he was young, he used to like only Cartoon Network, and he watched Tom and Jerry very much. And also, like Radhamada Prabhu said, that his kirtan was so powerful that not even the devotees, but outsiders, they were also very, encouraged to be in the kirtan. So once I was coming from Govardhan, and I was in a common auto. So there was few people, they were living in Kanpur. So they told me that, Mataji, you are the one who sit in that sadhu's kirtan. We saw you, whenever we come from Kanpur, we always see you sitting in the kirtan. And that sadhu was wonderful, and we love his kirtan. Whenever we have time, we always come to Vrindavan, and we come to particular that time. And I don't know that person, they were from Kanpur, from nowhere. I don't know, they are not ISKCON devotees. But still, Aindra Prabhu kirtan was so powerful that they were so much, they were in love with that kirtan. And also, the last day of Aindra Prabhu, 9th of July, I asked Aindra Prabhu that, because that year, when Aindra Prabhu passed away, that year, before Rath Yatra, we wanted to go to Rath Yatra, me and my family. And actually my mother had a desire to go to Rath Yatra for the to join Rath Yatra. So I asked Aindra Prabhu on 9th of July, Prabhu, can I go to Rath Yatra? My mother wanted to go. And Aindra Prabhu, he with his furious eyes, he says, what are you going to do there? You stupid? I said, no, my mother wants to go for Rath Yatra. So then he said, okay, you go, but come back soon. So we went, and then on 15th of July we came at night time. So on 16th, it was very hot day. And on 16th, I somehow or other I don't want to come for the kirtan, because we were very tired. But then I was thinking that I have so many, Mahaprasad to give it to Aindra Prabhu. So let me go today. And at 6:10 I entered to the temple, and as I entered, Aindra Prabhu was doing kirtan. It was very hot day, very few devotees were there. And as I enter from Gauranitai's side, he saw me, I saw him, he was so happy, as if thank you God that, because he has a Vrindavan mood, so he wants that everybody should live in Vrindavan. So he was so happy to see me, and of course I was very happy to see him. And I sat down in the kirtan. I was having few prasad, which I have to give it to him. So I gave, after the kirtan, I gave Mahaprasad, I gave, Jagannath Prasad, then I gave Ramananda Rai's prasad, then I got some prasad from Sarvam Bhattacharya's house. I gave this to Aindra Prabhu. Then I gave the dust where Jagannath and Balabhadra and Subhadra, they cremated. I gave the dust, that place dust, to Aindra Prabhu. And Aindra Prabhu said, what's this for? Then I said, Aindra Prabhu, this the Pandit says over there that this is for the good health. So then Aindra Prabhu said, what do I do with the good health? Then I kept quiet. I didn't say anything. Then I gave the rope, the remnants of rope. So then he said, what's this for? I said, again the Pandit said this is for the good health. So then he said, oh Mataji, what am I going to do with the good health? Then I got really angry. I said, not for you, this is for us, because we need your life. So then he said, okay. Then he take the rope, and then he put it in his neck. Then I was telling Aindra Prabhu, very happily I was saying Aindra Prabhu that I did this in Jagannath Puri. Jagannath was very beautiful, and that place is very nice. I was just saying, because that place is nice. That's why I said. But then he was a little upset, and then after that, while he was leaving, he said, remember Mataji, Vrindavan is the main place of Krishna, and Radharani is main, if you eat a beetle from Radharani's mouth, this is more important than to eat from Krishna's mouth. So remember, Radharani is the only one. And I said, Aindra Prabhu, because I was there for 4 days, I was in Jagannath Puri, that's why I'm just saying to you, Jagannath Puri, Jagannath Puri. Otherwise, I only love Vrindavan Dham. I have no desire to go anywhere. Then he said, okay. And then he left. That is 16th, last Kirtan of Aindra Prabhu. Then morning, because that was Saturday evening, so Sunday I have to make the belt. So that was Saturday. That was Friday. So Sunday I have to make belt. So Saturday morning I was picking the flowers. I was happy that I was thinking not to make belt, but then I thought no, Aindra Prabhu will think if I don't make belt, now she is more towards Jagannath Puri. That's why she didn't make belt. So I thought that no, I have to make belt. So that's why I go to the garden and I was picking the flowers. Then my mom came running, and as I heard my mother's, she was saying, Preeti, Preeti, and I was thinking, what's happened? But somehow or other, it stuck into my mind. Is Aindra Prabhu's okay? I didn't know that this thing going to happen. Then my mom said, Preeti, Aindra. As I heard Aindra, I just think, gone mad. And then from there, I just started running. I wanted to run, but then my legs were saying, were completely stunned that, Then from the garden to the temple, I collapsed many, many, many places. But then when I came to the temple, I see everything is okay. I feel very good that now everything is okay. But then, someone told me that, Mataji, you go upstairs. Then I was thinking, maybe Aindra Prabhu called me because, yesterday he was very angry that I'm saying about Jagannath Puri. But then I was telling my mind that I will never ever go to Jagannath Puri because my Aindra Prabhu didn't like to go. But he should be okay. And I went upstairs, so that happened. Yeah, somehow or other, I'm really thankful to him that so many years he sorry, I can't say anything.
Prabhu to speak something in front of, he wanted somebody from ashram also to speak that, some devotee who is like doing the seva now, like this, share some experiences like this. So I was thinking that first I want to shortly tell, I want to glorify Indra Prabhu, Prabhu's huge impact on a Vaishnava community worldwide through relating my story of how I actually came to Vrindavan, and actually I consider that Indra Prabhu brought me here personally, even though I never met him. I've been in his kirtans, but I never spoke with him personally or something like this. So first I want to share with you a verse that is actually stanza written on a Samadhi of Haridas Thakur, which Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote to explain that influence of Vaishnava carries in the world even after his departure. So this is a well-known verse. Here reasons still who tells that Vaishnavas die. When thou art living still inside sound, the Vaishnavas die to live, and living try to spread the holy name around. So when I joined the movement, then slowly you get, if you like kirtans, you will get many kirtan tapes and things like that. So I got also one devotee gave me like a big MP3 folder, and there was many Aindra's kirtans there. So as I'm from the West, then I was inclined to listen those kirtans, bhajans that were more like Western. And I heard Aindra's kirtans, I was thinking like, this Indian style I don't like, actually. It's like this. So, and then some time passed, but I was remembering how this devotee is always chanting Hare Krishna. Because by the time I picked up that this chanting Hare Krishna is very important. And actually I was wondering and irritated in the beginning, like when I was started reading Prabhupada's books, that why this person is always repeating this Hare Krishna practically on every page. Like, okay, I know, I'm not stupid. Like, why it's repeating? But then gradually I understood that, like Aindra Prabhu revealed to us, that actually all these books are meant to convince us to chant Hare Krishna, to do the yagya for the age. It's like this. So that I was remembering for a while that this devotee is always chanting Hare Krishna, nothing else. And then I started to listen only his tapes, like this, whenever. I was still kind of, I was working some job before I joined the temple, like this, and practically whenever I was traveling to jobs, I was listening to these tapes, like this. So here the story actually starts. Then he was, starting to have impact on my consciousness, his voice, and I didn't know much about him, practically nothing, but I was very attracted by that, he's like chanting Hare Krishna all the time. So, and then joined the temple and like this, and I love kirtan, always attracted to music like this, and always was secretly desiring, I would like to spend some time with 24 kirtan devotees. So it took me like, I guess, 10 years or so. Then you know how it is in the West, there's not so many brahmacharis, then you will get involved this project, this management and things like that. And somehow happened that there was some weird politics, something, and I saw this my escape gate and ran for Vrindavan. Like it is said in a verse we saw in Aindra Prabhu's video, this Prabodhananda Saraswati is revealing that you should run to Vrindavan actually. And Prabhupada is also revealing that, he's saying in the fourth canto of Bhagavatam, then those who are not advanced, actually, they should live in holy dhams, like this. So I was thinking that now is perfect time to escape, and I'm not advanced, so let's run. So I was having some idea that I will stay for, it's like 1 year or so, something like this. But somehow it happens that Aindra Prabhu is keeping me here. Now it's 3 years, and I want to share some experiences. So my idea was when I was coming here that, I really want to experience how it is to do this yagya for the age, just like sit there and doing it. So in the beginning was like, Aindra Prabhu is saying as well, then we are sick, so we need help. And our ISKCON society is like a hospital, temples especially. It's like this. So I was really experiencing in the beginning like, addicts. We are all addicts. How you say on Maya, we are addicted, to get Maya's bananas, like this Prabhupada is saying, mind bananas. So, and then I was experiencing this, like, you will have an addict want to get off the drugs, and then he will have such a severe crisis, he will lock himself to some radiator until, he's a little well. So it was very tough in the beginning, but how you perform yagya, my efforts are, I feel I can always do better. It's like this, but just only by performing it on the level of duty, then you get so much help like this, because we all have moments, then we will cry. And then if you are sitting more in kirtan, then you will have more chance to cry. It's like this. So I'm very grateful to Aindra Prabhu that he brought me here, that I'm healing my soul. It's like this, slowly getting some vision of what Vrindavan Dham is, association of devotees, like this. Also wanted to express my gratitude that to Aindra Prabhu's teachings. Sometimes I listen to his conversations and classes. Like he will say, you know, it's like you should sit down and do it. It's like this. That's the only way. Like Harinama, Harinama, Harinama Eva Kevalam. That's the only way. There is no other way. We can think maybe there is other way, but there is no other way. It's like this, and especially you can experience that to applying yourself to the process of chanting like this. So also I want to experience my gratitude to Aindra Prabhu and his followers, devotees here, that he's teaching me, you know, actually this is his statement. He said that I don't do any like casual kirtan, right? I do kick-ass kirtan. So my experience about these kick-ass kirtans is then you can then only immerse yourself. Otherwise, if you do some casual kirtan, mind will fly here, there, everywhere. You will sit there, but actually where you will be. It's like this. So I'm very grateful for this also. And also very grateful for understanding that Aindra Prabhu gave me that only by sitting in Vrindavan and doing kirtan you can do para-upakar, being help to others grow spiritually. It's like this. And because now is such a wonderful and important day, I wanted to invite you, everybody, in front of 24-hour Kirtan Ashram. Please join us today, especially now for this 47th shift until the closing of the temple, so we can make a glorious Kirtan for Aindra Prabhu's glorification and remembrance, and you know, let a whole temple bounce. It's like this. We need many part-up Kirtaniyas. It's not like on a shift there will be a few of us there, and we need help. Like Aindra Prabhu is always asking, please help me to do Kirtan. So please, as much as possible, if you can come and join us. We need many dancing devotees inspiring these Indians to join the Kirtan. And there's this para-upakara, it's like this method. And especially with these Indians, you see, it's so easy to get them, you know, chant Hare Krishna, to dance, and like that have full benefit of visiting our temple. It's like this. Maybe sometimes we become kind of, how to say, used to that Kirtan is here and, you know, we are devotees, like this. But these people, you know, they will come from these big cities and they don't chant Hare Krishna. They will not. They have some attraction for Krishna. They will come to the temple like this sometimes, and like there are only few temples. Then they will have such a wonderful chance to be engaged in the Kirtan. And also, for the end, Aindra Prabhu also revealed that then if you engage people in Kirtan, then you will get so much benefit. It's immense benefit is there. So please join us together for our glorious Kirtan. Let's make a whole temple room bounce. It's like this. Thank you very much. Shripada Aindra Prabhu ki jai.
So I mentally offer my respectful obeisances to all the assembled senior devotees. Actually speaking, this is the first time I'm saying something about my most loved person on the planet, His Grace Aindra Prabhu. And I'm very thankful to His Grace Radha Mother Prabhu to push me. He just, maybe 30 minutes back, he just gave me a hint that you need to speak something. So on my mobile phone, I just made some bullet points, whatever I could remember. And I'm very nervous, so kindly bear with me if I speak something here and there. So kindly support me at that time. So I got an association of ISKCON devotees in November of 1997, which is something like 98. And for the first time in 99 boat festival, I got to hear Sripad Aindra Prabhu in Shri Krishna Balaram Mandir. The scene was something like this, that the whole temple was filled with the water, the temple courtyard, and there was a devotee who was sitting towards this side where the Yashoda Mai is binding Krishna. There was a devotee his name was Rati Das, and he was singing beautiful kirtans. And suddenly I see that there's a devotee who enters the temple with a harmonium hanging on his neck, and his beard is quite, a lot, but he was shining, almost like red hair, copper kind of hair, and he looks so very intense. And initially I didn't like the idea that this one devotee already singing such a nice kirtan, why this Prabhuji is doing this? But when he started kirtan, believe me, hardly 5 or 10 people were there, but when he started slowly from nowhere, so many devotees started coming in, jumping, and the temple atmosphere absolutely changed. And his kirtan was, which I never had an experience actually. This was a lifetime experience for me. And it really changed my thought about the kirtan, that this is kirtan, this is known as kirtan. And after that, it was like, then since that day, Vrindavan was Aindra Prabhu for me, and Aindra Prabhu was Vrindavan for me. So that was my always wish, that if I have to come to Vrindavan, that means I need to sit in his kirtan as close as possible to him. So this was, I don't know, this was a kiddish way of thinking or not, but this was my way of kind of respect or an affection, that I want to sit as close as possible to him. And one day I had a good fortune to have a very close talk with Govinda Prabhu, the Mridanga player. When I started coming in Aindra Prabhu's kirtans, I'm going very fast, I know, because the time is very short. So the Madhav Prabhu, he left, and Govinda Prabhu was the main Mridanga player. So that was the time. And I requested Govinda Prabhu that I wanted a new Mridanga, I want to learn Mridanga. I hardly knew anything about Mridanga. He said, okay. So while going on a rickshaw, I was just asking anything and everything about Aindra Prabhu. And while coming back, he said, you wish to go to his room? I was like completely, should I say yes or no or what? Because this is a lifetime opportunity. I said, is it possible, Prabhu? Is it really possible to go to his room? He said, yes, just join me. I'm straight away going to his room, because he has some bananas, and I bought those bananas, and we can go to his room. And just following his footstep, I entered his room, Aindra Prabhu's room. The scene was quite very different. Even in Vrindavan, that was again a very intense Vrindavan atmosphere. There's an altar, there's a light on the altar only. It was summer season, very small air cooler, and which was giving a lot of noise. And the Prabhu was sitting on the right hand side where the heater is there, and he was sitting on this wooden chair, the muda. He was sitting on that, and he was reading a book, his glasses until the nose, and he was looking like this, and sometimes he used to read this. Then he asked, Govinda, who is with you? So Govinda said, just another fan of yours. And he looked like this, and he said, oh yes, I've seen him in the kirtans. I was so happy that he has noticed me. Oh wow, this was my good fortune, that he noticed me. So then the next, after a few days, it was Janmashtami. I came with one of my friends. He's in Mumbai now, Radha Rasik Prabhu. So I came with him. We stayed for almost 1 week. And Janmashtami time, Aindra Prabhu's kirtan used to go much more intense, very energetic. And I never missed any kirtan of his, especially in my stay. So while going back, so I thought that I should take his permission and his blessing, that Prabhuji, I'm going back to Delhi. So his common, very famous dialogue, Helly, smelly Delhi. What you are going to do in Delhi? Why don't you come and shift to Vrindavan? I said, Prabhuji, I'm a student, I'm doing this. All this is bullshit. So you just come and stay in Vrindavan. So then I finally had to go. And such a fantastic point he made. He said, if you are leaving Vrindavan, And if you don't have tears in your eyes, that means you never came to Vrindavan. So that really gave me a different kind of message that yes, this is Vrindavan. And I used to preach to some young devotees, young means of my age only, some were even elder than me. So once at the time of Nirsingha Chaturdashi, we made a trip. Many devotees came. There was a Tata Sumo field, like 10-15 devotees, we all came. And I took all of them. They were most of them were new. They hardly had any idea even what ISKCON is all about, what this Mahamantra is, who Srila Prabhupada is, what this movement is all about. And then I took all of them to Sripad Aindra Prabhu's room. And these devotees were sitting, this air cooler was on, and Aindra Prabhu was giving his discussions. And the way he started his discussion, he indicated to the one devotee, he said, "So what is your identity?" And the devotee said, "I'm a devotee of Lord Krishna." And then Aindra Prabhu said, "Then I must surrender my life unto you, because for so many years I'm just trying, till date I could not become a devotee." And that devotee was quite embarrassed that what did I say? It was a wrong statement, or because he didn't know that I'm a servant of the Lord. He just said, "I'm a devotee of Krishna." And after that, he started distributing his deities prasadam as every time he used to do. And the best part was, when I came out of the room with those devotees, every devotee said, "Prabhuji," they used to call me Bhaiya. Bhaiya means the brother. "Bhaiya, you know what happened with me? I wanted that watermelon and Prabhuji gave me that watermelon." Another devotee came, "I wanted that samosa in my mind and Prabhuji came and gave me that samosa. And I wanted this, So how could he read our minds?" I said, "It is Aindra Prabhu, he could do anything." Or maybe Paramatma inspired him. So, then once after Radhashtami, I went to his room. He was very tired after Kirtan, and I was just sitting. Many times he used to call very mercifully inside. Sometimes he used to be like a bit grumpy kind of a mood, and he used to open the door. "What? What do you need?" I said, "Prabhuji, can I come inside?" "No, I don't have time. I need to worship my deities. I need to chant my rounds." So still I used to be always a bit pushy. But "Prabhuji, I'll just sit and chant my rounds in the room." "You're so stubborn." "Okay, come." And I used to just chant peacefully. Then obviously my motive was to discuss something with him and get some sadhu sangha. And he was so merciful always. You ask one question, he will explain at least in 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours or 4 hours. It can go on and on and on. But the best part was, everything he started, even the shloka from Ishopanishad, he used to get it summarized in Braj Bhav. The shloka from Bhagavad-Gita, he used to get it summarized in Braj Bhav. The shloka from Bhagavatam, anywhere, everything used to just connect to how we are supposed to attain only Braj Bhav. There's nothing else we are supposed to do. So, couple of years later, a few years later, I told him that, "Prabhuji, I'm getting married, and this devotee girl," and he didn't like the idea at all, and he gave me my peace of mind that you should not get married, you should not get angered, this. But I was so conditioned that he understood that yes, he's not going to change. Then I introduced my wife on this alleyway, this passage. He used to just come out of the kirtan and go to his room. So there, most of the time devotees used to catch hold of him there only to take his association. So it was a parampara which I followed, and I introduced my to-be wife that time, that she's my to-be wife. The first comment he gave was such a heavy comment. He looked into both of our eyes, one after another. He said, "You know what? Even a dog sees the bitch's eyes very beautiful." I was completely shattered. What is this, Prabhu? I'm getting married and you're giving me this. And to my wife he said that, "Okay, you're getting married to this rascal? Take a stick in hand. Don't let him pollute you. You're property of Krishna. You're not meant to be enjoyed by him. You're property of Krishna. And you, rascal, you are supposed to be a great Paramhansa like Thakur Bhakti Vinod in our Parampara. And don't pollute her. She's a gopi. She's gopi of Krishna. She's not meant to be enjoyed by you." That's very heavy for a person who's getting married. Very, very heavy. And household life, he didn't like the idea at all. Most of the time he used to blast. So there was one devotee, I'm forgetting his name, he's from Mumbai. So he came and he was sitting in the room, and maybe some intense discussion was going on already before I entered. And as soon as I entered, he said, "Look, another fallen householder has come. Can you see him? He's also a fallen soul like you." I thought, should I stay or should I run or what? So that was always a mood. But he was very, very merciful. I used to be really scared of Aindra Prabhu. When he used to be heavy like a mountain. He used to blast, he used to wipe up the nonsense idea within a minute, fraction of seconds. And he used to establish his philosophical points, his theoretical points, and his bhakti points. And one day, and it happened many times actually, he blasted me so many times. But one day he just blasted so much, and actually I started crying. And he said, "Don't show me your crocodile tears. Today you are crying in front of me, and you'll go back to Delhi, and you'll again start doing all those nonsense activities. You'll not chant properly, you'll not do anything, you'll not do this. And it was something like 6:10. It was the evening shift time for his kirtan. So he started coming out, and then I was walking just a step behind him. Suddenly it turns back to me. He said, "Somebody needs to slap you tight, right on your face to wake you up." And I just cried more and more. And he said, "Tell me something. If I will not say these things to you, who's going to say all these things to you?" So that was his well-wishing nature. There's such a mercy, always flowing. Even in his chastisement, whenever he used to chastise me, I always felt purified. That is, he's purifying me. And that really actually did. So after a few years, just 1 year after my marriage, I always used to say to Aindra, "Prabhuji, I want deities like you." I never saw the Lord standing like this, the one hand up, another down. And I asked the significance not to him, to another devotee, "What is the significance of this?" So he said, then the senior devotee told me that this mercy is above than the justice. So if Lord starts doing justice, none of us will stand there. But this is mercy, so Lord is mercy. Then I said, "What is this?" He said, "This Gauranga is all merciful." So he is distributing the mercy all the time. So I also always used to tell Aindra Prabhu that I want deities like you. So he used to give me a smile. Sometimes I thought he's saying that no, you can't get it, or sometimes he's acknowledging, sometimes he's giving me a consent that yes, you should. Then finally I got the metal deities from Aloi Bazaar. When I ordered them, the deities are exactly like this. So I took the deities directly. The first place I took, it was to Aindra Prabhu, his room, and I just took off the deities, and his eyes were like lightened, and he was so happy to see, "Wow, this is same like my Nitai Shachi Sutta." He was so happy. He was very, very happy. So I said, "Prabhuji, I want you to install them, and you please come to Delhi to do the installation part." He said, No, I will never come to Delhi. That's helly smelly Delhi. I will never come to Delhi. So Prabhuji, please, I requested him a lot. He said, "If you want these deities to get installed by me, bring them to my kirtan, and I'll install them there itself." And I brought the deities to his kirtan. He sang before those deities, and then he told me that yes, now these deities are installed. Take them to Delhi and do the rest of the welcoming, the abhishekam and everything you can do there. And then I asked them, "Okay, can you please name them to my deities?" He said, he thought for like maybe 2-3 seconds. He said, "Mine are Shishinitai Shachi Sutta, so yours will be Shishinitai Shachi Nandana." I was so happy. And I'm skipping some of the things. As Prabhu and Mukunda Prabhu was saying, that he used to give like intense classes, long classes. There are many pastimes in the classes, but one I do remember, it was Radhashtami class, and he was asked to give a discussion. And when he was speaking, he was giving a discussion from Sri Prema Samputa, and he was so absorbed. he started talking that what Krishna is saying to Srimati Radharani, that in front of you is mascara of your eyes, in front of you is a servant of yours, this. And he actually started crying on the Vyasasana. He was crying, and the tears were rolling. He was trying to control, but it was out of control. He was trying for good almost 1 or 2 minutes. And finally he was able to come out of his transcendental ecstasy, and he wiped off, and in a very humble and in a very kiddish way he said, "I'm sorry for my behavior." He was so humble. "I'm sorry for my behavior." And then he changed the class into a very deep, serious, absorbed class, to a very fun-loving, to a very joking class, and he started telling about Radha Krishna joking pastimes, and the devotees started enjoying. And I witnessed many devotees when he was crying. Many devotees actually, almost every devotee was crying after him. So, and to his deities, Shri Nitai Shachisuta, he loved them so much. Once we were sitting in the room, and there's a news, everyone used to come to his room, September 11 attack. Every time the devotees used to come and discuss something related to the attack. And he was always so Krishna conscious that he said, "You know what? I do not want any terrorist to attack my twin towers." My Nitai Shachisuta, he indicated to it, "I don't want any terrorist ever to come and attack my twin towers." And once there's a devotee who brought a Shila, and he was a master in identifying Shilas, that is, which is what Shila. So and he used to do it within a minute or two. But just once or maybe twice, I saw him really taking time. He took time to identify he used to have a lens kind of a thing. He used to put it and he used to magnify it. And there was a big lens, he used to magnify it, see all those marks on the stone. But still it was taking time. Then finally what he did, he took the stone, kept to his heart, and said, "Tell me, it's you or it?" And just maybe 3-4 seconds later, he said, he just gave it to the hand of the devotee. He said, "Worship it, because it's just a pebble of Vrindavan." It's not a Shaligram. It's not just a pebble of Vrindavan, but still worship it because it is from Vrindavan. And once actually he told that same time he took, Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj sent another devotee. He took some time, he identified, and he told all the marks. Then once I asked him, "Prabhuji, can I touch your lotus feet? Please give me permission to touch your lotus feet." He said, "No, always do it in your mind." And I saw another devotee who came for the first time to Vrindavan, maybe some other temple devotee. He straight away came and just grabbed the lotus feet of Aindra Prabhu. He said, "This is how the mercy flows." And he was not leaving those feet. And when I again tried to touch, he said, "Just now I told you something. Do it in your mind." So, yes, just 2 more minutes, Prabhu. So, Aindra Prabhu was so absorbed always. Once it was Aindra Prabhu, me and Vrindavan Das, we were sitting in the room, and Aindra Prabhu was honoring prasad, and he said, "You know what happened last night? I was honoring my prasad, and while honoring the prasad, I fell asleep." I said, "How is it possible that honoring prasad is a kind of sense gratification? I mean, just filling the belly and tasting the food." And so I just understood that he never saw any difference in prasad and Krishna also. He was so deeply absorbed, he was so tired. He honoring the prasad, he fell asleep. It was Chaturmasi or something. Then he got up again, then he finished it off and washed off his hands. And once we went to Govardhan, while coming back, there was a major accident. The guy who was driving a bike, actually, the both of them actually died on the spot. And he said, "You know what Srila Prabhupada used to say? Bike means death on 2 wheels. So we should be very careful. We should not drive the motorbike." And in just last 2 things, his Shaligram Shilas, he asked me to prepare some matrices. He gave me the dimensions with the inchi tape, that this is the diameter, this is the depth, and these are the number of the trays, and I want you to bring those matrices. And it actually took some time in between because I was very, very busy in my office stuff. So it was a gap in my coming to Vrindavan. And finally I came with those matrices. We cut the diameter, me and my wife prepared all those dimensions. And when I reached the room, he said, I was just leaving to Mathura to get those matrices because I thought they are not going to come because you are not coming to Vrindavan. And then he placed those and he said, it's a bit more fluffy, but yes, slowly Shaligram will press them. And when Prabhuji passed, and when he actually left this planet, I got one of the prasad one from Radha Madhav Prabhu. And my last face-to-face interaction with him was in June 2010. And when I came to Vrindavan, it was again after a long gap. And after his kirtan, he said, you're not coming to Vrindavan. What's wrong with you? You should go more often. You should participate in the kirtan with us. He didn't say actually with us. He said you should participate in the kirtan with me. You should come more and more often. Please come. I said, I'm so sorry, Prabhuji. And that time he was looking for a word. He then started discussing which is the strongest word to put in the harmonium, this, that. So it was in June 2010 starting. And I was going to Jaipur for some office work. And on the way I got a disastrous news that yes, this has happened. And I came with my family. And I don't know, so many devotees that time, because of the book, there were so many misunderstandings, this, that, as Akinchan Prabhu told, that one senior devotee, I know who actually told him that you please don't get it published. Once you leave the planet, then it can be published. But he was actually very, very strong to this point that no, my book has to get published. So due to this book, there were many, many misunderstandings between some senior devotees and Aindra Prabhu every now and then. And in his last days, actually, he was not very happy because of these kind of interaction. But all I can say is, Aindra Prabhu was one of the most misunderstood personality. But we can see his deep, deep devotion, his deep attachment, that even in that dense fire in his room, he was not actually looking a way to escape. He was found paying obeisances to the lotus feet of his Shishinitai Shachisutta. And all my Krishna conscious number of years are just because of Sripad Aindra Prabhu. I'm so indebtful to him. He gave us Nam Sankirtan, he gave us taste, he gave us a different way of Kirtan. He showed me path to my spiritual master also, His Holiness Radhanath Swami. So throughout my life, I'll be always grateful to Sripad Aindra Prabhu and his followers. So let's all take this Sankirtan movement very seriously as per his teachings. And I beg again, I pay my obeisances mentally to all the assembled devotees here to kindly bless me so that I can serve his instructions. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Sripad Aindra Prabhu ki jai.